What's up, everybody? It is, I don't even know what day it is. I think it's Wednesday. Wednesday, the 35th of March. Congratulations. We're still in March. No, we're almost to the end of 2020. And we have a group today that I am beyond excited for. Canvas and Nearpod, okay, they're pretty cool. But let me tell you who's really cool. Cleburne ISD is absolutely rocking things. So we're here with our incredible partners and friends at Nearpod, who, if you haven't checked them out, go check them out. All the cool kids and teachers are using them. I'm going to hand it over. We're here for the next 60-ish, 45-ish, 30-ish. We'll see how long minutes. Any questions you have for the Nearpod team, for the Cleburne team, we want to hear them. My job before the end of this is to make the incredible teacher, Ronnie Davis Sandoval, YouTube famous. So that's all we care about. With that, I'm handing it over to Marcella. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and welcome Cleburne ISD and Nearpod.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark, for having us. We're so excited to be here. Hopefully you guys can all see my screen. We would love for you guys to join in on this wonderful Q&A with Cleburne ISD. So if you would like to join our Nearpod lesson, please note that there are a couple different ways in which you can join. The first way is hopefully you're seeing that Mark has posted a hyperlink there for you. So if you are with us here this morning on March, the 35th of March, random Tuesday, by all means, we would love for you to be able to click on that hyperlink and join our Nearpod lesson. If for some reason you're feeling like, gosh, I don't see that hyperlink by any means, and you still want to join, no problem at all. What you can do is just open up another tab or open up your cell phone or tablet, and you can go to join.nearpod.com. Again, it's right here. I'll kind of highlight it for you, join.nearpod.com. And then with that, you can go ahead and enter in that 5-character code, RTWG2. RTWG2 if you go to join.nearpod.com. And once you're there, and if you decide to join in, then what you're going to see, oh my gosh, we've got some Nearpod experts all up in the house. I like this. Amazing. What you're going to see is that there is an awesome matching pairs activity for you. So I see some people already in there. Rachel's got it. Robin's in there. We've got Keith in there. Kat's in there, Felicia's in there. So by all means, go ahead and start participating with that matching pairs. That's just some wonderful terminology that we will continuously talk about here with our Cleburne ISD partners in crime. So of course, go ahead. And as you can see, the beauty of Nearpod, which we're going to talk even deeper into, is that I, as a presenter or the teacher, get that real-time feedback. So I'm seeing who's in my classroom. I'm seeing how well you're doing on this specific activity. And so with that, I think that once we get more people in here, we've already got 21 people. Oh my gosh, exciting. I'm so excited to have you guys here. Once we get a little bit more people in there joining, again, one more time, if you want to click on that hyperlink, go ahead and feel free to click on it. If you're struggling with the hyperlink, sometimes technology just doesn't work in our favor. You can always open up a new tab and go to join.nearpod.com. And once you've done that, you can enter in the 5-character code that you see on my screen. It is RTWG2.
Hey, we have Marcel and team. We got some rock stars here today. I don't know if you know Greg Bagby, but he's about as cool as they come. Out in Tennessee, one of the incredible educators. Hildy, my good friend in Virginia. Welcome, Marianne, and so many others. We're excited to have you. This is going to be entertaining, so hang on to your seats. Go join this Nearpod right now, friends.
Perfect. And then we'll go ahead. And once we get a couple more people in here, ooh, we're already at 30. I love it. We will then get started. So thanks, everyone. Hello, Kathleen. Yeah, from Irving ISD. I love it. So excited to have you guys here. We've got a lot in store for you. We are so excited. We've got our awesome partners here from Cleburne ISD, and they've got just a wealth of knowledge to share with you all about the wonderful things that they're doing over there in Cleburne ISD. So if you're ready, you let me know, you give me the big okay, and we will move forward. All right, perfect.
Awesome. So first and foremost, again, just thank you guys so much for being here with us today. We know everybody's busy, stretched thin, stressed out, but we are really excited that you're here with us today. And we've been really intentional about trying to make this as beneficial and informative for you guys as possible. The Nearpod and Canvas fam together are just super excited. You're going to feel the burn today, Cleburne ISD. We think it's important that you not only hear from us, but from practitioners in the field that are in similar roles as you, whether that's in the classroom or if you're in a director role overseeing remote learning, such as Tracy is. We just want you to hear from others that are specifically in similar shoes to you. So super excited to be here. Today is all about making the most of Canvas and Nearpod. We're going to talk about all the engaging media, formative assessments that are going to be at your fingertips to make every lesson interactive. And then, of course, we're going to dive into how that all fits within Canvas, because really when you use the two together, they truly are better together. So, again, we're just super excited that you're here with us today. And quick introductions. Tracy, we'd love to start with you. If you want to tell the audience just a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing, Ike. My name is Tracy Shea. I'm the Director of Remote Learning at Cleburne ISD. And this was a new position that was created for many reasons, but also one to support the learning that is taking place within this COVID time that we have, but also to see what's possible. And we have come a long way during this time, and there was a lot that was taking place prior to this time. You're going to get to hear from one of our teachers, Ronnie Davis Sandoval, and she's going to talk about how she's utilized Nearpod and Canvas together to really meet the needs of our students. And this is a blessing to be able to share what's happening in our district, because we know that a lot of people right now are just looking for answers. They're looking for support. And my goal today is that we provide those two things for you.
Okay, I'm Ronnie Davis Sandoval, and I teach currently 10th and 11th grade at Cleburne High School in Cleburne, Texas. And I have all the kinds of classes this year. I have full remote, full face-to-face, and predominantly actually hybrid instruction, because I have specialized preps and I'm the only one who can teach them. And the integration of Nearpod and Canvas has made my life a lot simpler. It was making it simpler before we had to go to all these different types of instruction, but definitely has allowed me to keep my same level of instruction, even with having to cater to all the different groups. So that's one of the things I'm excited to talk about.
Awesome. And I know I've already chatted a little bit, but my name's Ike Ramos. I'm the Director of District Partnerships at Nearpod. Also used to be a teacher and a principal in both Texas and California. So an educator at heart, and just really excited to be here. And again, try to share as practical as information as possible to hopefully make your lives a little bit easier. Marcella?
Yeah, and then again, I've already kind of spoke as well, but my name's Marcella Labrador. Super excited to be here with you guys. I am a Nearpod and vocabulary brand ambassador. And then before joining Nearpod, I was a former high school teacher as well in South Carolina. So if any of us are on here joining in from South Carolina, shout out to South Carolina. But besides that, I also was a professional development specialist. So again, my passion for both education, but also great, wonderful resources like EdTech resources and professional development kind of brought me to Nearpod. So super excited to share this Nearpod Canvas magic with you today.
Awesome. Let's keep it going. All right, so quick overview, today's agenda. We're going to give you a brief overview on what Nearpod is, just so that you can understand the context when we talk about using Nearpod and Canvas together. And then after we do that brief overview, we're going to jump right into a Q&A with Cleburne. We're going to have them talk a little bit about the beginning of our partnership together, why they chose Nearpod from a pedagogy and best practices standpoint, how that implementation unfolded, and then we're going to dive into the what does Nearpod look like in Canvas on a day-to-day basis in terms of how teachers are using it. You're going to hear some more from Ronnie and Tracy there. And then we're going to keep it short and sweet. Our fifth question is we're going to open up the floor and field some questions from you guys and see if there's anything specific that you guys have questions about. So that's our agenda for today. And, we'll be here with you guys as long as it takes. So we're excited to get started. Now, this is kind of twofold. This is a Collaborate board. It's one of over 20 different features inside of Nearpod that really allow you to create engaging interactive lessons. We want to use it first so that you see and start getting ideas about how you can use it with your students. But second of all, we just want to get some information from you that might guide our conversation. So for those of you who joined the Nearpod lesson, if you could be so kind to participate, our question is, what has been one success and one challenge from this year's teaching experience? And if you're in person, you can talk about those challenges. If you're remote, you can talk about that. Or if you're hybrid, like Ronnie doing a little bit of everything, then you could talk about that. But we'd love to kind of just hear one success, maybe a challenge. I always find this Collaborate board is great because, you know, you can see if others are experiencing some of the same things. If they have something that's going particularly well for them, well, maybe you can glean some information from that and so forth. So I see some folks are already sharing. Don't be shy. We'd love to hear from as many people as possible. And again, if you share a challenge, we encourage you to do that because it might spark an idea in our mind on some information that maybe we can share to try to be helpful. And then again, don't shy away from sharing some successes because we love to share those out with the greater audience as well, if there's something in there that might be beneficial to the whole group. Yeah, a little bit of everything. Family engagement, getting them excited about this whole process, teaching to both remote and in person at the same time, 100% challenge, getting families to buy in and make it a priority. So we see a mixed bag, right? Some of the challenges are things that existed pre-pandemic, and then some are you know, directly related to post-pandemic. And you know, I think that's important to note because we're going to try to share information that is not just beneficial now for those of you who are remote, but also when you're in person or if you're doing that hybrid environment. And we try to root everything we share in a strong pedagogy framework. Okay, so you know, we're going to share some best practices and things that really translate across all environments. And I know Tracy and Ronnie have a lot to share there, so I won't steal their thunder. Awesome. But thank you guys for sharing that. I think it helps also just to purge sometimes, right? And focus on some things that are going well and some things where we still need support. Now, in terms of what we've been hearing across the country, and we saw some of that in your Collaborate board, is folks, again, pre-pandemic and especially now during remote learning, are just looking for ways to increase student engagement. We know that if we can increase student engagement, a lot of times that's going to help with the families as well in terms of prioritizing education, right? If the kids are excited to hop on that Zoom or that Google Meet and the teachers or the parents see the kids engaged, then that's going to have a cyclical effect and really hopefully loop in some of those parents and get them bought in. Another thing is a lot of districts had to really pivot overnight and roll out devices or a new LMS such as Canvas, right? So when you roll out devices or a new LMS, they're only as strong as the other integral parts, right? And so Nearpod, you're going to learn today, really fits in well with Canvas. It can help you get the most out of your devices or your LMS like Canvas. And then as I kind of touched on, this really this goal of being able to pivot between in-person, remote, hybrid is a key concern we've heard brought up time and time again. And you'll see a little bit about how Nearpod and Canvas can help with that. And then lastly, it always is going to boil down to student achievement, right? Everything that we do is about the students. We had a great conversation with Tracy offline a few days ago, and she just recalled where as a teacher, she was always trying hard. She always had good intentions. But when she really shifted her mindset to this is about the kids, what can I do to maximize my impact? It really wasn't about how can I be the best teacher? It's what can I do that's best for the kids? And at the end of the day, that's making sure they're learning, right? And so that last corner statement you see there, understanding where students are through formative assessment is so key, especially now where we're trying to mitigate, any exacerbation of learning gaps that might already exist. So that's kind of what we're hearing in the field. Again, I saw some correlation between what you guys shared on the Collaborate board. All right, Marcella, you want to give them a quick little overview on what is Nearpod? They're hopefully already starting to get an idea of it. You saw some stagnant slides, which is fine, right? Sometimes we just want to share an image or information, but you also saw interactivity through the Collaborate board and through the matching pairs.
Absolutely. All right. So just in a nutshell, you are already experiencing the Nearpod magic. You are in our session right now. We're getting feedback from you. We're able to collaborate whole class, no matter the circumstances, remote or not. But in a nutshell, Nearpod is a presentation tool that makes teaching and learning more interactive and engaging. Okay. And so you're going to see a lot of different things when it comes to Nearpod. Not only are you able to actually spruce up your own pre-existing Google Slides or PowerPoints that you've used for years in the past by embedding some brand new Nearpod formative assessments like our Collaborate board or our matching pairs that you already saw. But on top of that, you can also not have to reinvent the wheel. We've got over 8,500 lessons that you can actually download from our Nearpod library. And you can actually take those lessons as they're ready to run, standards aligned, K through 12th grade, core curriculum, plus more. Or you can modify it, right? We always know that making sure that you can customize, get your creativity on, and really personalize all the lessons to your liking for your students is going to be best in your classroom. On top of that, we also do, as you've seen, collect real-time data. I know I just mentioned about Tracy and making sure that we're utilizing those assessments and we're doing what's best for our students. And so making sure we can actually monitor our students' comprehension and misconceptions in real time is going to be so crucial and important right now, especially given our hybrid and remote circumstances. And so that's exactly what you're going to see Nearpod does. But on top of that, we want to make sure that it's housed and saved in a post-session report for you to always refer back to. So making sure that we're able to go back to those post-session reports, see all those submissions, and really plan ahead for what our students might need from us in the upcoming lessons. And then lastly, hopefully you've seen already that Nearpod encourages 100% student participation. That's what we're striving for. We're wanting to make sure that everyone shows up to class and they're not just kind of snoozing in the back or the back seats by any means, but instead they're participating, they're engaging, and we're expecting something from them as much as they're expecting something from you.
Awesome. And as Marcella mentioned, there's already ready to run lessons in there. As a former principal and a teacher advocate, I always say that's the low hanging fruit. There's over 8,500 lessons that are already in there, K through 12 across the various content areas. They're all built on research-based instructional frameworks. For example, the 5E model, if it's a science lesson, etc. And so that's the low-hanging fruit for those of you who are brand new to Nearpod or have been using it but only using it to enhance your existing PowerPoint or Google Slides. There's 8,500 lessons in there, and you can search by specific state standards or even Common Core standards if that's applicable for you. And so I highly encourage you guys to take advantage of that. Again, knowing everybody is stretched thin, if you can grab a lesson that's ready to run and it's aligned to the standards you're responsible to teach, hopefully that can take some weight off of your shoulders. Now, what's really great is you still have the flexibility to edit those lessons. So if they're not quite meeting the needs of your kids, you can tweak them, but at least you're not starting from scratch. Now, for those of you who are lesson design pros and you already have a huge catalog of Google Slides or PDFs or PowerPoints, you can most definitely still use those and use Nearpod and Canvas to enhance them. Okay, so wherever you fall on the spectrum, if you just need that quick grab and go lesson, or you just need an interactive platform where you can really get your lesson design on, then you'll be covered regardless. And then we just want to reiterate also that another thing we've heard of is, as I mentioned, we got these devices, we got this LMS. We don't want to get something that doesn't work with those things, right? And so I always like to point out at Nearpod, we're device agnostic. So any student device with a Wi-Fi or that is Wi-Fi enabled, your students will be able to join a lesson. I'm sure some of you even joined today's Nearpod session from your phone, etc. And then we have various rostering. I mentioned various ways to create lessons, different platforms like Google and Cleburne Office that we sync with. But again, what we're going to really be honing in today during the Q&A is how you can use Nearpod with Canvas together. So just know that those 8,500 lessons that I mentioned within Nearpod and anything that you edit and create on your own, you can share and deliver those lessons via Canvas. And we're going to be hearing more about that. And then also, these lessons, it's important to know you can use Nearpod and Canvas in the classroom, in the flipped classroom, for a remote synchronous, for remote asynchronous. So again, just keep in mind the flexibility that the two platforms provide together. You know, whether you need students to join a lesson from their device in the classroom through Canvas, they can do that. If they need to do it at home independently, they can do that. So regardless of the environment, you'll be covered using Nearpod and Canvas together. And then last but not least, Marcella gave an overview of what Nearpod is. The best analogy that we've been able to come up with is that Nearpod helps create a two-way street, right? And on one side of that street, you're engaging and teaching. On the other side of that street, you're assessing and getting real-time feedback. And that's really, if you remember anything about Nearpod, that's the key takeaway. A two-way street between the teacher and the student. I want to be able to engage and deliver content. That might be a video, a PhET simulation, a YouTube video, a PDF. But I also want to be able to push out interactive assessments and get real-time feedback. That's the top bucket that you see on your screen. So the top bucket is the assessment bucket. You can see over 10 different features to hear from your students in real time. That bottom bucket that says media, that's how we're going to engage and teach. Okay? And again, you saw a few of these, such as the poll, the collaborate board, and the matching pairs. Now that you you get the gist, hopefully, of Nearpod. You saw just a few of the interactive activities. You can see how, hopefully, you're starting to imagine how you can just house a lot of different lesson components within the Nearpod platform. And now we're going to shift to really start hearing from our great friends and family in Cleburne ISD. Okay? And so the first question we want to pose to them is really just to give a little background on how the Nearpod and Cleburne ISD relationship got started. We think it's important that if we're going to do great work together, that it's not a vendor district type of relationship, but that it's really an educator and a student focused partnership. Okay, so want to pass the mic to Tracy, and if you could let us know, you know, how it all got started.
Thank you, Ike. And I want to start just to give a little bit of brief history about our tech integration as a whole as a district. Our superintendent, our school board, our cabinet, they are behind us 100%. And we had a bond pass in 2016 that allowed all of our students to get their own device. So we were able to roll out Chromebooks to our secondary students in 2017, and we started training our teachers the summer before that took place to get them ready for that rollout so we could immediately jump on and start utilizing those tools that our community supported. And so I'm very grateful that we have the support here. And also I'm thankful for what we have learned with Nearpod. One of the things that I remember you saying at TCA was that we're partners, and we are. That was felt when we first started utilizing your services and working with your folks, Austin Merrick, some of the different ones that you have as trainers. I mean, when we do training with you guys, it's just very nice. It's friendly. You feel very warm, and that makes a big difference in the learning environment. So we appreciate that. So we had the tools and we were ready to start utilizing them and finding products that would really benefit our students and teachers. And so if you'll go to the next slide, how did we get started with Nearpod? Our teachers. They had gone to TCA, and we're giving a shout out to TCA, and visited your booth and watched one of your presentations and just were on fire for it. And so we started looking at it, and as we are, developing the infrastructure for our EdTech and what it looks like here in this district, we wanted to make sure that we were offering something to our teachers who wanted to use it and provide a system of support and of training for that usage. And so we started with the cohort, and I think Ronnie has been on the cohort since the beginning. She's one of our beginning teachers with the cohort. And so in looking at it from the admin, and we can go back because I want to talk about this just real quick, and looking at it from an administrative perspective on the tech inside, we needed, we were going to use our LMS platform, Canvas, as our way to distribute instruction to our students. And we'd already been looking at Nearpod, and when we saw the integration that could take place from the LTI, I thought this is a win-win, because with teachers, you want to have wonderful products and you want to be able to do great things, but there are only 24 hours in a day, and you want to make it something that is livable, that's doable, that's meaningful. And so with the integration, you've got two things that you can integrate. And if we're talking about activities, you can integrate it into Canvas as an assignment, and then that feeds to SpeedGrader. And then if you've got Passback, then your life's even better. And it goes to your student information system. And we're talking about a seamless digital learning environment. And so we have a lot of our teachers, and Ronnie is one, who can talk about how that takes place. The other one is the integration with just showing a Nearpod as a presentation. So, and you can do that through your Canvas pages. Now, rostering. Right now, the way that we work is the teachers who participate are part of our cohort. And so when we do our initial training, we get them together. We make sure that their account is set up inside of their Canvas. And once it's set up inside of their Canvas, all of the students within Canvas just feed straight off of it. So there isn't anything extra that we have to do. It's already part of it, and it's done. And then one of the last things that I really like is the sharing that our teachers have the opportunity to do, because Nearpod is two things. It's an instrument, and it's also a toolkit. So you can get your resources out of it, and then you can also use it to teach. And so for those resources, when you have teachers who are teaching the same thing, and we don't want to relive it again, right? We want to share and then maybe edit what we've been given. We've got a Nearpod district library that our teachers share consistently with each other on things that they create. All right, so this is our second year of getting going with our Nearpod cohort. The first year we got started, we had Ronnie with us, and we had some other ones, and it was a smaller group, just getting everything going and seeing how that worked. And then what happened is the teachers would tell each other about it, and then they would show each other what they were doing with their students, and then the group started growing. And this particular trainer that we have, she was actually a graduate of Cleburne High School, so that was kind of cool for her to come back and to teach. But she was really impressed with what the teachers were doing with the product with their students. So that I was really pleased with that. So it started growing, and then we'll go to the next. And I am a believer. If we'll go back just one more. I am a believer in getting your students to become the teachers. When your students can teach, they have learned it. Because who typically learns more, right? The teacher. And so when you can get your students to become the teachers, that's winning. And right here, you can see we've got some of our one of our teachers right here training, And this cohort was developed with, back in the day, I was the secondary instructional technology coordinator. And then I worked with Jane Flynn, who is the elementary currently, and we worked to get this cohort started. And so when we saw the gains that the teachers were making, we would say, hey, why don't you show this to the group? Why don't you show this to the group? And so our cohort meetings were basically a time for the teachers to share their best practices with one another and to grow in that way. Yep. And then you can see it got bigger. How did it get bigger? They would tell each other. They would tell each other. And we also, you know, our bond that got passed, there were many things that happened. Some of our training areas got bigger and better. We can go to the next one. And here are more, and there's Ronnie. And here are more of our teachers teaching and doing their best practices and just sharing what works. More teachers. All right. Ike, would you like me to talk about this, or do you want to talk about this?
I think Marcella was unmuting, but yeah, we wanted to pivot. You know, I think it's important to always understand where it starts, right? And I think you guys have a beautiful story of really mimicking what we ask teachers to do in the classroom, right? Which is empowering students to take ownership of their learning. And as we saw from those slides, you guys really modeled that and had teachers take ownership of their own learning. And then that created this big cycle of teachers just telling each other about it. They have resource now, right? Because if I know you're a fifth grade teacher and I'm a fifth grade teacher and you're using it, now I have a colleague I can reach out to, I can learn from, and we can learn together. So I thought that was important to start there, and you guys did a beautiful job with that. Now, we don't have to spend too much time on this question, but I think it's important for our audience just to understand a little bit more behind the why. You touched on teachers, on the infrastructure that you guys had, trying to find the right resources to support what you were trying to accomplish. You got the teacher buy-in, it started growing. What are some of those key fundamental, just instructional pedagogy or best practices that really also influence the adoption of Nearpod or the use of Nearpod?
One of the things that I saw initially is you had real-time assessment data that could determine how your lesson went. So, and you could do that. I know Ronnie's going to talk about it, but either through polls, how did you feel about whatever it is that we did? What, you know, do you feel like you learned it? And so the kids are able to give you an answer, and you can look via a poll right then instead of waiting and, you know, a couple of days after you get it graded. And so you're able to make adjustments immediately.
Awesome. Ronnie, I know you plan on chatting about that more. Is there anything you want to add now, or you want to save it before you dive in a little bit deeper in a little bit?
Well, I didn't include this in any of my slides. So I do actually frequently use Nearpods embedded into Canvas as exit tickets. And since I'm an English teacher, I will have them like answer a question briefly in writing, and then I'll do a poll also. And I think that helps them too, because then when I share the poll results, then they can see, since I teach advanced preps, I have a lot of students who, you know, have a lot of anxiety about like if they're smart enough to take AP or dual credit. And so when I share the poll results, I'm like, see, look, you know, 35% of us said that we're still confused. And so obviously we need to go back and look at these things, and then they feel, you know, like they're not alone, which is nice.
Yeah, I think I think you hit the nail on the head, both of you. Really, it's about that immediate feedback. I know some folks have termed it like assessment for learning, right? Versus like a summative assessment, to where Tracy mentioned, you teach your heart out, you give a quiz, you finally Sunday evening get around to grading it, and you're like, shoot, they didn't get it, right? So we want to help eliminate that. So in the midst of you teaching your heart out, you can get that real-time feedback and see what's working and what's not working, and then make those instructional pivots. So thank you guys so much for sharing a little bit about those pedagogy fundamentals and essentials that really drive the use of it in Cleburne.
Awesome. Okay, so I was having some technical difficulties, but I'm unmuted. We're ready to rock and roll. So question number 3 that I think is just so crucial and important for our viewers to see for both Tracy and Ronnie is, of course, as a former educator, I always had, tons of platforms provided to me from my district, right? And sometimes you get like EdTech platform fatigue. And it's a little bit stressful to have to be like, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to use this and this and this and this. So I just think the way that you guys seamlessly had a plan and rolled out both the implementation of what you're currently using, Canvas, and then implementing Nearpod with that platform, something your teachers already knew. I would love to know more about how you really implemented this, both Nearpod and Canvas, within your district to support your teachers and not make them feel overwhelmed. And then also how you kind of explained and got them geared up to be Canvas Nearpod gurus and pros when it comes to this specific integration.
So when we look at LTIs, it's important. And an LTI, basically, it's like if you are comparing your learning management system to something, let's compare it to a cell phone. Okay, so we use the Canvas smartphone, and you pick what apps you want to run on that phone. And we're going to pick the apps that we think are the best. And so one of the ones that we have that's running as an LTI is Nearpod because of the options that we have with it. Now, when we first do the training, the way that it works is this is Nearpod. This is how it functions, the navigation of the product, of the platform, the creation process, all of the resources, how to grab those, how to edit them, just to get accustomed to the product itself. And then what we do next is we talk about the distribution of it. So, and we also, we're a Google district. And so that is another LTI that we have is Google. And I am a believer in you do the creation inside of the application. And in this, we're talking about an LTI. You do the creation in it, and then you do the distribution through your LMS. Our LMS communicates to our SIS, our student information system. And so we want to make sure that we're getting things back home. And so we create inside of our application, our LTI, and then we do distribution through our LMS, which is Canvas. And so, it's all about, this is how I use Nearpod. This is how I navigate through it. This is how I create. And this is how I use Canvas to distribute those different products. And right here, so when we do our training, and we did this at the beginning of this school year, we have a course designated for our integration of Nearpod inside of our Canvas LMS, and all of our teachers are added as students to this. And we use it for 2 reasons. One, it's a repository for the different resources that they need for utilizing Nearpod. And then 2, we use it to train. So I'm a believer when we get in there, we're going to do. We're not just going to sit and listen, because that's not fun. It is fun to work. And so once we go through and we talk about the how-tos, then we immediately start incorporating it and utilizing those tools. We've got great support. We consistently work with Nearpod. Anytime we have updates, we'll do live web conference calls. They'll come in and they'll share, hey, this is what's happening, or this is what's about to happen. And, one of those specific things was the timer. And I know Ronnie will talk about that because she loves the timer. And when that rolled out, that was really nice. So this is a course inside of Canvas that we use that houses all of our Nearpod professional development resources. And we also use it as a place to do our PD.
Awesome. And I think, once again, I just love the extent to which you guys model what's being asked of the teachers. So we're asking the teachers to use Nearpod as an LTI within Canvas, but then when you guys push out professional development, it's about Nearpod and it's through LTI in Canvas. So I think that mirroring of what we're asking our educators in the classroom to do just goes a long way. It really shows the buy-in from top down and bottom up. Big shout out to Greg. I think you just explained it beautifully, and Greg Bagby threw it in the comments and said, use the LTI and the LMS for the SIS. And so thank you so much, Tracy, for just making that clear for our audience in terms of how you guys have been using it. So we talked about how the relationship got started, a little bit about why Nearpod from a pedagogy standpoint, those interactive activities and real-time feedback. We talked a little bit about the how we roll it out, how it started with the teacher cohort, turned into multiple cohorts that grew. Teachers now have this this cohort of colleagues that they can learn from. There's PD on Nearpod embedded into Canvas as a Canvas course. And so for question number 4, really what we want to hone in on is the what. So we did the why, the how. Now, what does the day-to-day truly look like, Ronnie, for our other teachers who are out there in the audience, and for those of you who are going to watch this later? Let's let them know a little bit. What does it look like to use Nearpod and Canvas together?
Okay. Well, I use Nearpod for, like I said, I teach all of the things right now, and I also started out teaching remotely. I have recently gone back into the classroom, but I have all of the different types of preps. And so I use, as Tracy said, I use it sometimes just like as slides. I actually use it instead of Google Slides usually for informational things. And so that way, when my students say, wait, what was the thing that you said about this? I'm like, hey, go back to that show. And I also use it as live lessons, and I embed them through Canvas so that I have the option to take the grade on them. I don't always grade every single one because I do it a lot, but I have that option, and to see how much somebody participated, and to go back and look that over. But especially since I have 5 hybrid sections, I use also the student paced option. And that way, the students who are not able to be with us synchronously, they do go in and do it on their own too. And so that way they're still getting the same instruction. Because like I said, I teach advanced preps, and just because somebody's at home, like, you know, the College Board doesn't care about that. They still have to be able to pass the AP test. So that way everybody can have the same types of interactions and the same level of instruction. Okay, this is the thing that I was just talking about. So I actually have been embedding it into Canvas in 3 different ways now, and I've been running a first period live and a third period live for my live sections. And about 75% of my remote students in the hybrid sections will join the live sections. And I've run it through both Zoom and Canvas conferences. And then that way they can hear me while they're on the Nearpod and they're doing all the interacting. But for those who are not able to do the live, then I also will have the student paced, and my group is pretty well trained now that they, you know, click on the one that they're supposed to be in. I think I already covered all that stuff. If you want to go to the next slide. Okay, one thing is that I really like to do, I've started doing this year especially, is the collaborate boards on Nearpod, and I will just set it up as just a single activity Nearpod and embed it into Canvas. And I like this option because I do also use Canvas discussions for other things, but we do good things at our school. We're a Capturing Kids' Hearts district, and so this is a good, this is a better option for good things than I think Canvas discussions are, partly because it's just sort of like a more fun feel to it, because it looks like the little Post-it notes, or, you know, you can put little pictures, and it's got like a bulletin board appeal to it, which is nice. And also students can post things anonymously. I mean, I know who wrote them, but they don't know who wrote what unless they tell each other, which is good, because sometimes, like, I have students who will kind of freeze up because, like, oh, everything that everybody else wrote is so much smarter than what I wrote, and so I'm not going to post. And this way, you know, you can go ahead and post it, and like that way it doesn't, people don't like automatically know that it was you, except for me, which is nice. And this has been really good for socio-emotional check-ins, especially, and for really low stakes writing activities. And I think that's okay. Can you go to the next one? Thank you. Okay, draw it slides are one of my favorites in Nearpod because as an English teacher, annotation has been probably the most challenging aspect of moving to a paper-free classroom because I need them to be able to annotate texts. And there are annotation tools online, and we've experimented with a lot of them. Just our entire English department has. And this is one where we're trying to, for the AP test especially, we hone in on little passages and try to look at really specific things. And this is nice because then I can have them highlight, underline, circle specific things. I always give them a task. And when we're doing a live lesson, then I will project out a student sample, somebody who's done really well, and say, oh, look at this one, they marked this, and that shows us that, blah, 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 which is great because then the students who are really struggling with annotation can see what it's supposed to look like, and then they can, you know, kind of tailor themselves to that. And also, because I have the advanced preps, my kids are very competitive. And we love Time to Climb. Like partly they love to do it because it's fun. They get to pick their little character. And what I love about being able to, like, I've loved this for live lessons since it came out. But what I love about being able to put it in Canvas in the student pace is I actually ran this one in a fully remote section that is mostly asynchronous. And they can still see where they're doing in relationship to other students. They can't see the other students' names, but it shows you, like, so for the competitive kids, they're like, oh, I gotta be first. You know, they gotta get more correct answers and answer more quickly. And that way they still get to be engaged with the class, even though they are not in the classroom together with the other students. And so, and I bribe them with stickers, and I've been actually like mailing stickers to remote students, and they will fight very fiercely on a Time to Climb for stickers. So, okay, and the next slide. Okay, this is just the aftermath. So of Time to Climb, when you get to the end, there it gives you a first, second, and third place winner. And when they're doing this in student pace, it does not show the names. When you do it in a live lesson, it will show their names, and you know they're very proud. But the other thing is that now I can go back to and see who missed what questions. So, you know, and then I have the instant feedback and can instantly go back and assess, like, what do I need to reteach so that I can reiterate, like, whatever it was that people missed. And this is what it looks like in the speed grader for Canvas. And this is really helpful to me because then I can see, especially like for my students who are doing asynchronous remote, I can tell when they're disengaged, like when they just clicked through it because they, you know, didn't get the answers right, or they didn't annotate anything they were supposed to annotate. And so then I can reach out to that student and say, hey, what's going on? You just clicked through your Nearpod, like, that doesn't count. And, you know, then they'll go back in and they'll do it again. Because I think sometimes they just didn't realize that I could actually see all the things that they did. And I usually will send them a screenshot of this too. And I didn't actually do a slide about the timers, but since Tracy mentioned it, I was actually doing timers before Nearpod embedded them. I would just upload timer videos from YouTube. So I was really happy when Nearpod added the timer feature because especially for my AP students, I need to get them into the habit of thinking very quickly and responding very quickly. But also that way I have a bad habit, I think a lot of teachers do, of sort of running over and over and over with my lesson, and it keeps me on track too. If I say, okay, we're not going to spend freaking forever on this one slide. I know you want to annotate everything perfectly, but I said 2 minutes and it's 2 minutes, you know, and so that's actually been a lifesaver. And I think that's the end of my slides.
Awesome. And so thank you guys so much for sharing. We have about 8 minutes left. And so we'd love to, in addition to everything we've already learned from our wonderful team from Cleburne, we'd love to give everybody out there in the audience an opportunity to post a question on this Collaborate board. So speaking of timers, we're going to set our timer for about a minute. But if a question pops up on the screen and Tracy and Ronnie, if you feel obliged to tackle it, feel free to unmute and do so. But let's go ahead and give folks a minute or two to throw a question on there. If you don't have a question, you can share some love for our amazing presenters, or maybe an idea that you're leaving with. So we'll give you guys about in a minute, and we're going to encourage you guys to share. If you didn't join the Nearpod lesson and you've just kind of been watching the presentation, feel free to throw your question into the StreamYard chat.
Ronnie, feel free to answer any of these that you would like to.
As far as the variety question, I would say the main thing is just, I really like Nearpod a lot for whenever I have days that I have to do more lecture, because I can go through a few slides that have information and then stop and do an instant quiz, or have them engage with it in some way. Like sometimes I have them illustrate something that I just said on a draw it slide, or I'll do a poll suddenly. And we just did the Crucible, for example, and we went over reasons that people might be accused of being a witch in 17th century Salem. And then I did a poll and I was like, so how you doing? And, almost everybody was like, pretty sure I'm going to be accused of being a witch. So it was pretty, it was pretty entertaining. They got pretty into it. But there's just a lot of options with Nearpod, actually. So the variety hasn't really been an issue. There are quiz games, there's competitive type games, there's writing, and you can do videos. So there are a lot of things that you can do with it.
To that, just to piggyback on that variety question, if you keep in mind the slide that we showed that had the 20 plus features, and I mentioned there's two buckets. There's the assessment bucket, and then there's the engage and teach bucket. We recommend switching it up. Even the shiniest tool starts to lose some of that, shine and gloss over time, and things can become very mundane. But with so many options in Nearpod, to Ronnie's point, maybe one day you play a YouTube video and you follow it up with a poll and an interactive quiz. And then the next day, if you're a math or science teacher, you use a PhET simulation, a vocabulary hip hop video, and a time to climb competitive quiz. And so you don't have to use the same features every day, and that'll help with your variety too, as you think about how you want to plan out your Nearpod lessons.
I love the question about what feature do I wish they would add, and I have thought about this before, but I can't think of anything at the moment. But I would, but the one about embedding Nearpod in Canvas and restricting the size, you can tell it to open in a separate tab, and then I think they actually can maximize to the full screen when it's embedded, but I'm not actually sure about that, and possibly that is something that Mark could answer for us. I'm not sure.
I'm seeing
one of the other things that I really love, and this is something that I'm seeing our teachers do in the remote learning environment, is when you're having that synchronous teaching time with our students, it's so important for the students to immediately get some gratification. And there is a share out tool. And I've seen Ronnie do this, and some of the other teachers do this. So when she's asking for a specific thing to take place, whatever it is that she's asking to take place, and you have the ability to hide names, she can push out a student submission to all of the other students who are participating in the Nearpod lesson. And that student immediately knows, man, my teacher really liked that. I did a good job. And it also shows to the other students, this is an example of what you can do. And it gets them probably more excited to participate because theirs might be shared with the group as well.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Any other questions on
I'm
there?
just seeing one other question, Ronnie, that I think is probably directed towards you. But what's your favorite or your go-to tool within Nearpod? What's the one that's like, this is my favorite feature out of the 20 plus ones. I rely on this one the most.
I probably use Draw It the most because I use it both to have them annotate things and also like I use it as a bell ringer kind of thing. Like as they're coming into the classroom and they're getting logged in, I'm like, draw me a picture of what you're going to do over Thanksgiving. And so I use that one a lot too, to kind of just like while the other kids are getting logged in. And I guess, I mean, I also like Time to Climb a lot. I don't know. That's a hard question. And of course I use all the writing features a lot because I'm a writing teacher. I think I thought about the feature now. I wish if Nearpod was going to add anything else, it would be an ability to annotate PDFs or Google Docs or something like that. And then we could focus on something a little bit larger. But for now, it hasn't been a huge issue because, like I said, we can hone in on specific paragraphs, and that's been actually really helpful.
Thanks for sharing that. We're on the same page with you as well. And for any elementary folks out there, administrators and teachers, that Draw It feature can really be your best friend. Even if you think all the way down to kindergarten, you can basically upload any PDF into Nearpod and import it as a slide. You might be wondering, why would I want to turn the PDF to a slide? Well, in Nearpod, anything that is a slide can be converted to a Draw It. So if you have a worksheet for a kindergartner that says, circle all the letter A's that you see on the page, then you can upload that into Nearpod, convert it to a Draw It, and now students can mark on it. And as Ronnie mentioned, as students are working on that Draw It, you actually get insight to them while they're working on it. So once they start working on it, you actually see them marking up the document in real time. So I've noticed that even with my own kid, the teacher is like, hold up your worksheet, and you see a bunch of 6-year-olds holding up their worksheets. Imagine just being able to see everybody's whiteboard on the screen at the same time. And so again, I know sometimes our lower elementary folks get left out the mix, but that's a great way to use Draw It as well to your advantage, especially for kids that maybe can't respond with text yet.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I feel like that's most of our questions. I do really quickly to kind of end us out, would love to provide you guys, if you're here still with us and you're still listening along and you want more from Tracy and you want more from Ronnie, I know I do, you can definitely follow them. I want to make sure that you guys are able to access them, ask some questions, ping them with some questions. I'm totally volunteering their beautiful minds right now, but I think that they're okay with it. So by all means, please note that on Twitter, social media, you can definitely follow them at T-Pay and R. Davis. Oh my gosh, help me out, Ronnie. Sandoval?
Sandoval.
Okay, perfect. And then, of course, if you do have any questions Nearpod related and you want to know more, I know there are some questions on the Collaborate board about just Nearpod in general and what specific things do and different licenses. You can definitely reach out to Ike and I as well by pinging us on social media at Mr. Ike Ramos and or at Learn with Labby for Miss Labrador. And then lastly, I do want to make sure that you guys are aware that if you need any type of support, if you're struggling or if you're having questions and you just really don't know where to go and who to turn to, by all means, you can definitely get Nearpod specific support by actually emailing our support team at support@nearpod.com. And then also we have additional resources as well. And if you are in this specific Nearpod lesson currently still, you can actually click on these hyperlinks. Hyperlinks definitely do work throughout a Nearpod lesson. And so you can definitely find any additional resources, videos, tutorials, blog posts as to how to use Nearpod by going to our www.nearpod.com/resources page. And then on top of that, for Canvas specific questions, you can definitely click on those two hyperlinks where we've got Canvas Commons and then also Canvas and Nearpod integration hyperlinks as well for support as too.
Wow, what a session. Tracy, Ronnie did not disappoint. Ike and Marcella, you also did not disappoint. I just followed everyone on social media. Tracy, we were already friends. We're social friends. Did you know that?
Good, Mark.
Who knew? Well, looks like I lose once again. Not surprising. Everybody, Nearpod is killing it. Cleburne ISD, incredible. We're gonna have, holy cow, frog, a literal frog was in my throat. We're gonna have you guys back again sometime really soon. Thanks, everybody. Question about, can you see the recording? Go to YouTube right now, Facebook friend. You can see as many of these as you want. You want to watch 150 hours? I wouldn't recommend it, but go right ahead. We'll see everybody tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning, we are with the Washington, D.C. public schools, one of the leaders over there, Nicole Cluse, who is incredible. Join me and our Chief Customer Experience Officer to chat with that team tomorrow. We'll see you at 10:30 a.m. Mountain. Thanks again, Nearpod. Thank you to our friends in Cleburne. Have a great day, everybody.